Live, as far as I know. Yeah, we're live.
Awesome.
And I'm here with Scott. He's telling me about how much work he's been doing lately.
Oh gosh, yeah. Unfortunately, it's not fun work. Well, I mean, it's okay. I'm not complaining, but it's my busy season at my day job, at my job, I should say, and I manage a group of people, and so we worked late tonight, and well, I say late. It was only 30 minutes late, but that put me home later than normal.
So that being an almost Freudian slip, does your mind actually think of your comic books as your job, as your true creative calling? And so you gotta, in your mind, you've got to kind of like have it in your as an idea of a job that you're actually doing.
No, not really. I mean, I don't.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people. It's funny. It's funny you asked that.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I dropped my remote. I got to get it.
That's
Or I'll
right.
never find it later. It fell behind my
Yeah,
desk.
yeah. It's good to
So
pay
I
attention.
was on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the kind of stuff you lose it, and you're like, where did
Yeah.
that thing go?
Mm-hmm.
I was on a video. I don't know what they call it, but a video thing the other day.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Called
How'd that
Comic
go?
Geek Speak.
Mm-hmm.
That went really well, and if anybody wants to watch it, I'm gonna flip this around. Sorry, again, this is all stuff I normally do, and my setup. I was telling you earlier when everything crashed. My setup is here is what I used at the show.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
When you
the show.
talk
And
when you
so,
talk on the Zoom call, was it a Zoom call that you guys
yeah,
connected with?
no. It was like it was StreamYard.
Oh, okay.
Son of a gun.
Okay.
Anyway,
Expect a snafu any moment if you're watching at home.
God. Well, so here I focus on my paper or my table.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wasn't drawing during that, and so I had my thing flipped around, and my table was flat, so now my drafting table is normal at an angle because I had all kinds of stuff on my table.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had pages and I had like the just all kinds of stuff. I had water because it went for 3 hours, Ellis.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and so I wanted to make sure I was hydrated.
Yeah,
You
sure.
know, you know. Oh, that's good. Okay, that's good. Anyway, so I had my desk, same desk, just my little bendy arm was flipped around and all this kind of stuff. But it was pretty good. If anyone wants to see it, they can go to look for Taskforce Geek and watch the interview. It was interesting because, do you know Dirk Cooper?
Dirk Cooper, yeah, that he works for what is it? It's almost like a card company or something, isn't it? Dirk
I don't
Cooper,
think you're thinking of Dirk Cooper.
Yeah, he's the guy that did
I think you're thinking of something.
Death is My Best Friend or whatever, right?
Mm-mm.
Who am
No,
I
you're
thinking
thinking of what's that cat's name? He did My Best Friend Death is what you're thinking of.
Yeah, My Best Friend Death.
That's not no. Dirk Cooper is a photographer.
Okay.
/ artist. He's a really good artist.
Okay.
But he does a lot of like fetish kind of photography.
Mm-hmm.
But he also does this thing called Taskforce Geek,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I was on, and it was interesting. Well, they talked.
It went on for
so I said, okay,
3
so,
hours. Okay, what did they talk amongst themselves quite a bit, or did they keep you on front and center the entire time?
I was on for an hour and 20 minutes where they just asked me questions,
Oh, okay.
and then they talked about some other things.
Okay.
But I got in on that certainly, you know. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I've decided I enjoy doing that sort of thing. The
Sure. I
first
mean,
one I did, I wasn't really prepared, but I was a lot better at this one.
mm-hmm. No, that's a good way to grow your audience. You're trying to have a YouTube channel. That's the way to do it. You ought to be the guy running
Yeah.
StreamYard. Yeah. Invite guests.
Well, and yeah, I need to do more of that kind of stuff, or that kind of stuff. Period.
Well, I mean,
I figure out how,
it is kind of pointless, or it seems like it's kind of pointless up until you get the 1,000 mark. You know, if it's money, you know, that you say, it's pointless until we're getting money, right? Nah, you know, practice a little bit. And the idea is you can't
care about that.
The idea is you can get money later for existing material. People always finding your old stuff, and you know that still pays. AdSense will still pay you for people blundering into your stuff as long as the hits keep. You know, they show hits often enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that because we were talking, and I forget how we talked, or how it came up, but I basically told him, like with comics, I've pretty much decided there's no way, it is inconceivable that I will get a comic job that I go, I'm going to quit my day job.
Yeah.
It just doesn't pay enough money,
No.
And so, yeah, for better or worse. And so the comic projects I do, I look at them a lot differently because a lot of people are like, oh, you've got to pay me. But, well, the problem is you're getting paid and it ain't that much. And so it's like, why would you I will not ever again work on a project that I don't like if, the period,
That's numero uno. Yeah. That's numero uno.
I don't care.
Work on something you want to work on. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, yeah, because here's the thing. It's not going to pay enough to quit my day job. So whatever I do, I'm going to do on the side.
Yeah.
And I don't, and if, it's like, and this is what I talked about on the show. It's like, if it pays me $500 or whatever, or even $1,000, I don't really care if I don't like the project.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather work on something I own part of.
Yeah.
And make no money, but own it. I mean, I'd rather work on stuff that gets put out,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I get all the time people are like, hey, I'm looking for somebody to help me put together a pitch to Image, and it's like, and it's a 12-issue miniseries, and and it's just kind of one of those, why, I'm not doing that, even if you pay me, I'm not doing that because I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
I like drawing comics, but I'd rather draw for myself.
It's the excitement of the idea of creating a franchise, just out of thin air, and it happens. It happens, but not often.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, a guy can brute force a franchise into existence just by sheer determination.
Yeah.
Doug with Bigfoot Bill.
Cowboys versus aliens.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Comics versus aliens versus cowboys.
Oh, speaking of Doug, I heard a interesting thing. Doug, according to one of his interviews on, his little program on Locals, he was yakking back and forth. No, it was with somebody else. I managed to catch that or something. He was being interviewed by somebody else. And so they were, picking his brain for NFTs. And, I learned from listening to him that
Oh
he
yeah.
probably made as much as 700K during the time of it. And I think cashed it out. Well, today, the news on NFTs is that an NFT that Jack Dorsey, the Twitter founder, sold for $1.2 million of his first tweet was someone tried to go and get, tried to
Oh yeah.
tried to sell it for 10 times that, and the bid on it only got up to $128. So, I don't know if
Wait,
that's
do
actually
what? You dropped out.
the bid for that
What happened?
NFT. The bid for the
Yeah,
Jack
was
Dorsey NFT was $128, and when it was went for $1 million. So in other words, that might be indicative of how the times have moved on from NFTs. Which it sounded like it was pretty good. I hope
okay.
I hope Mike Miller got his cash out of it.
Yeah.
Because it's nice.
A friend of mine was always talking to me about making NFTs.
Mm-hmm. Well, by now, by the time you gear it up, it'd be like, yeah, nobody's doing this anymore.
Yeah, well,
I'm no longer in the.
Ever since I heard about them, I figured I was probably too late.
Yeah, I knew I was. It's only good if you go in with a lot of PR mindset, and it's like you've already done a lot of groundwork to where you know that people are going to find you, because you're spending money to make money. You have to buy Ethereum for yourself to turn it into something that blockchains. That's the whole thing. It costs you money to put that blockchain in motion.
Oh yeah.
So that's
you gotta spend money to make money, Ellis.
That's exactly right.
Or you gotta spend
have you ever
money
seen
to lose your shorts?
That's right. Oh yeah. Well, that's more common. It's like, let me. I just know this will go over big. Let me get a loan. That's the dumb idea. Have you ever seen the movie Brick with was it Thomas Levitt? What's his last name? I always Thomas. Well, I'll look it up real quick on another channel so I don't blink us out. Anyway,
I don't believe so.
It's a high school drama. It's all occurs around the high school setting. As a matter of fact, it's a San Clemente setting. I was looking at this movie while I was watching. I said, well, I've been there. Where is that? And then I, broke down and looked it up. Oh, of course, it's San Clemente. They never showed
And
the.
You had been there.
Oh yeah, well at least just dipped in a couple of times, but I've driven by it, a couple dozen times, going down the highway from LA to San Diego. And the water coolers for the nuclear plant.
Oh, gotcha.
That's right around the area. San Onofre. Is that right around the area? Yeah, it's pretty close. Let me see. What was I looking at? Okay, Brick. It's directed by Ryan Johnson. I'll just put movie.
Oh, okay.
It's apparently his director, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And it was the idea is that Ryan Johnson was crazy about and wanted to get into films because of the Coen brothers, Miller's Crossing. And he discovers that it's all because of Dashiell Hammett that the Coen brothers did Miller's Crossing. It's largely the Glass Key. So he becomes an avid reader of that
Okay.
sort of thing. And then he does this high school setting for a hard-boiled detective where they're saying the same sort of dialogue you would expect to come out of a period piece and just playing it straight. And at first,
That
it's
sounds
like,
cool.
yeah, well, at first, it's like, I don't know if I can stand this. This is stupid. Because it's obviously, it's bouncing around your head is an unnatural thing.
Right. Yeah. You're like, that's something's
I
off.
don't know about this. And then you get used to it. And then it's kind of fun. And then, and the story's good enough and it's it's a great little example of how to do a low budget movie. I mean, you couldn't have a better example of how to do a lot with very little.
How'd you see this?
I was going to say it's on Amazon Prime, but that's not correct. It's I rented it on Amazon Prime because I ran across somebody talking about, hey, I'm digging that, Scott. It's I'm liking your drawings and your angles. Very cool.
Oh, cool. This is my perpetual project.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Daredevil, not the Marvel Daredevil, but it's page 2 of this. I figure I've got one panel left. I might as well finish page 2, right?
Your public domain thing, right? It's a public domain character.
Yes. Well, someone sent me this, so it's not technically.
Okay.
Yes.
Whatever cachet there is to reviving a 1930s character. You could do. Is the Shadow public domain? I assume that's been. Okay, it's not.
Not yet, but a lot of stuff is supposed to be coming up soon.
Well, I think you can keep things copyrighted, can't you? Can't you keep that going? And if you put up the cash and your deep pockets, can't you keep that going?
I don't.
If you're Disney, you can.
I don't know. Disney's going to be running into it pretty soon though with Mickey Mouse.
Well, I think that time has already passed. I think that time has passed. I think
it's like the life of the creator plus 50 years or something like that. I don't know.
I'll have to check that out.
Unfortunately, I've never had occasion to pay much attention to it one way or the other.
I can tell the Shadow is not public domain just because I know that there'd just be a lot of insane product out there if he was, because that's a huge figure. And
yeah. I'd be doing if the Shadow's public domain. I would be doing the Shadow. Dude, I love the Shadow.
We'd all be doing the Shadow.
I bought a biography of what's his name, Walter Gibson, the creator of the Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Shadow, man.
Batman is the Shadow. That's why we love Batman, is because what success they had at ripping off the Shadow.
Yeah, that new Batman movie reminded me of this would be a cool Shadow movie.
Mm-hmm.
I love that new Batman movie. I thought it was really cool. And he had that awesome car.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're not alone in liking the movie, but I think you're in the minority. I think more people don't like it than like it. Don't you think that's the case?
They're lost.
Yeah, they're lost.
I think it made a lot of money. People seem to like it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, speaking of movies, I want to get this off.
I don't know.
Since I titled
get this off your chest.
Yeah, get this off my chest. Outer Range. There's let me solo myself.
Is that the Kevin Costner Western?
It's Josh Brolin.
No, that's Open Range. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Open Range. Yeah, you're right. Open Range. No, this is called Outer Range. And what's interesting, one of the key things about it is that a giant hole opens up in the middle of his property. And as far as I can tell, I shared this screen earlier. I want everybody to go see the trailer. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not actually legitimately or sincerely claiming I'm ripped off, that someone has to have read my script, The Locust Bride. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing stories about mysterious holes opening up. But the deal is, you talk about being part of the simulation or something. I think that the movie has also got evil twins in it, which mine has a thing about twins in it, where if you the whole takes in the original, it spits out a twin. And let's see, there it is. Okay, now I think this is the same. Oh, I can't click on that and expect it to change. Now I got to get it big. Okay, I think this is the same actor, but it's in a different shot. And this guy is preparing dinner, and he gets mad at this guy, and I'm looking at him. No, that's the same guy. So I'm thinking that twins result from this hole. And so that just makes it that much more similar. And of course, but I think there's a UFO angle on theirs. And of course, I try to go like Lovecraftian in a way, like it's this old medicine show that's roaming around the Old West is involved in a rite that they have to do on a regular basis.
Sue them.
Well, you know what? That would get attention, I guess. But the deal is, I can't like say write Amazon, because that's who's putting it out. Amazon's putting it out. I can't write Amazon and say, hey, you should look at my book here. Look, did you rip me off or what? That would make it kryptonite. Nobody would ever look at it, because the moment you look at it while under the shadow of saying, hey, somebody ripped me off, man. Nobody wants to look at it, confirm, or because then I supposedly add you to my list of rip-off artists. Because you can't acknowledge that you read it at all. Period. But this was on a place called Revolution.
That's the problem. That's why nobody can get anything. That's why you have to
have an agent,
have some kind of inside angle.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have an agent, because that's,
And so
I don't want to read anything.
Speaking of brilliant movie stuff, I've been reading this big old thick book.
Yeah.
William Goldman, Adventures in the Screen Trade. And this thing is just great. I'm on page 10.
I've got that.
You have? Have you read it? Because it's cool. It's got lots of great stories by a great writer. Well, over half of it you can just ignore, because he's reprinted his script for, which I'm going to read.
I was going to say there's scripts in it.
Yeah, it's got long scripts in it. He has one of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which is great. And then the whole last portion of it, he had his daughter stick under his nose an old short story he wrote that he had forgotten it so completely that he couldn't even tell her what it was about. And then when he reread it, he got all excited again, and he's in the midst of writing this. And he said, hey,
this is brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. The way we all do about ourselves. And he decided to write or show how you go through the process of, taking a short story, pulling out what you need for a movie. And, and so basically the process takes up the whole last of the book, which will be great. I'm looking forward to reading that. Yeah. So anyway, really digging that book. What else am I digging? I guess Yeah, that's about it. Oh, I'm also digging the fact that I'm on the last disc of Dune, so I'm about to finish that up. And it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun to listen to
Oh,
that all over
really?
again. Yeah.
I've never made it through the audiobook. I've never made it through the book, and I've never made it through the movie. Either one of them. My record of Dune, what would you call that? Dune apathy is still
Yeah.
solid.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
just, I just
Dune.
decided I have no interest in it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a certain kind of indifference that comes over me on
Hmm.
certain topics, and for you, it's Dune, which, I get it.
I just like, yeah, you know what? I don't care.
I get it. Not much
I
happens
don't
in
care.
Dune.
Doesn't do anything for me.
I've got
Nope.
this. I
Very
got this
boring.
paper. I saw this brilliant young lady on this kind of like art help thing that shows up on Twitter, and she has this isometric net notebook where it's just the grid pays no
Oh
attention
yeah.
whatsoever to a horizon line. So once you sit in on this 3/4 down,
Nope.
you've got this guide for doing really consistently cool things because the grid's already been worked out for you, which is kind of fun. But she does all kinds of wacky, wild things. So I was going to see if I could stimulate myself here and see how wacky I got, other than just drawing cool boxes. See if I can make a box, make it occur
Well,
to me to draw something else to it.
You got to draw a. Are you Oh, you have a book there that you bought?
Yeah,
Did
yeah,
you get
yeah.
that at
This
Hobby Lobby?
No, I just bought it on
I've
Amazon.
seen them. Kind of a little
Ice,
paperback thing. Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I've seen guys that have made Dungeons and Dragons maps out of them, and it's really
sure.
pretty cool.
Yeah, it gives you a great rigid
Yeah,
top down view, and of course, anytime you want to get out of just
yeah.
drawing along the grid, you can do that anytime you want. Draw people.
You need to
There you
draw.
go.
You need to draw like an old west scene though. In that,
Oh yeah,
you could draw
yeah.
like you draw like a western street and stuff.
Oh, it'd
Hey,
be.
speaking of old west, I saw Kurt Russell.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you need to debrief us on the Kurt Russell soiree.
Well, okay, first off, it was so crowded. Even though I took stuff to get signed, that did not happen.
Didn't happen.
It was extremely crowded, but it was very cool, and we had pretty good seat. Dave ended up going with me.
Oh, he did. Cool.
Yep, it was really really cool.
Did you guys go
It was
together to where you talked about it a lot?
yeah.
Okay.
We went together, and then we ate lunch, and we went.
Cool.
I went to Half Price Books afterwards. Um, yeah, it was really good. Man, Kurt Russell's just like a down to earth kind of guy, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, he
he
talked
gets some.
about his career. He had a whole career, but he had a whole career. I mean, a solid career before Disney.
Oh yeah.
He was like a child actor. I didn't. I knew he was a kid actor in Disney days, but he was a child actor, and he was
Oh
like the
yeah.
lead of some show called The Adventures of Somebody or Another that went for a couple seasons. And his father was an actor,
Yep.
and apparently he grew up and his father was a Western actor and was friends with all these stuntmen. And so growing up, like stuntmen were constantly at his house and showing him how to do stuff and do falls and taught him how to ride a horse at a real young age and all this kind of stuff.
Is this
And
dad's name Bing? Was it Bing?
yep, Bing Russell.
Yep.
Bing Russell. He was inducted to the uh, National Western Performers Hall of Fame or something like that. And Bing was also. So Kurt and his dad were both inducted
Cool.
this year. And he told a story about he was the lead at this in this show, and he had top billing. So, well, second season, Charles Bronson joined the cast,
Uh-huh.
and so his dad gets a call and says, they say, well, Charles Bronson is going to get lead what do they call it, the headline.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah.
going to be the lead in the credits,
Right.
the top creditor, or whatever they call that.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And his dad goes, "No, you won't." And they said,
Because it's
"Well,
in our
it's part of
contract.
his deal." Well,
Yep.
he said, "It's per Screen Actor Guild, per the well, this is something we're gonna have to, you're gonna have to waive because we're gonna have to do this." And he goes,
No,
"Oh
we're
yeah,"
not.
and he hangs up, and he tells Kurt, "Pack up," and he packed up, and they went down to San Diego, and they just stayed until the studio caved, you know, and and somebody they contacted his agent and they told his agent, "Where's he at? What's going on? We need him back." And he said his dad is not bringing him back until he gets his position on the credits back. We can't do that. He's and he's like, yes, he can. Not only that, he will. And he will crash the show rather than. And his agent, knowing apparently his dad was a no nonsense guy, his agent was like, "You don't know him. He will not cave.
Yeah.
You're without your lead actor if you insist on this, you know." And so sure enough, he didn't, And he said Charles Bronson was mad, but he was smart enough to never say anything to his dad because he said his dad would just soon fight somebody to look at him. You
Yeah.
know?
Bronson was one of those guys that always was kind of like checking to see if you were intimidated by him, but then when you then when you weren't, he
You
did he
know,
didn't he
when you
didn't pre-
weren't, yeah, it's like,
he didn't press the issues too much supposedly. Of course, Richard Egan. The story I read in
no,
response to one of my videos on my other YouTube channel is that Richard Egan and he were on a show together, and now Richard Egan is the guy that when he was in the military, he was teaching judo and
oh
hand to
yeah,
hand fighting, and that was his army experience. So if Bronson's acting like he wants to fight, there will be
oh
a
yeah,
fight. There will be a fight, but he backed off from it. Apparently, they almost came to blows.
oh yeah. Well, sometimes,
Yeah. Oh well, just when you're being a little bit of a jerk is when stuff really gets going. And it can be,
yeah,
it can be caused by several things. I mean, you may be being a jerk for what you deem pretty reasonable notions about why being a jerk would be important to you at the moment, but most people don't buy into it. Or maybe you just like hurting people. That can always be a factor.
yeah. I think some people just like fighting.
Yeah, some
Yeah,
people.
I think there are
Well,
plenty of people that
some
just
people
want to
like
fight.
some people like to win fights. Nobody likes to lose them.
No, yeah, no. Nobody wants to get their tail handed to them for
Uh-uh.
sure.
So if
But
you've had some good experience
yeah, that
on
was pretty cool.
winning
That
fights,
that was a
yeah,
fun experience.
yeah.
Oh no. I meant the Cowboy Hall of Fame,
Oh yeah. Well, do
the
you remember
induction
any like
Kurt Russell thing.
besides that anecdote? What else did he talk about? Did he talk about directing Tombstone or anything like that?
Yes, he talked about that was so he talked about most of the talk was about Western stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Completely glossed over anything, the Thing, the Big Trouble in Little China, or Escape from New York, which was what I was like, yeah, talk about that. Um, he talked about directing Tombstone. He talked about how, he recommended apparently the first actor or the first director kind of went belly up on the project for whatever reason,
Well, he had
and I
had
think Kurt
bad
Russell
health.
recommended.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, he did. Okay.
He had bad health issues. Yeah.
Well, then the next guy, the guy that was the actual director, ended up directing it. Apparently, Kurt Russell recommended him, and I guess Kurt Russell was involved
Oh,
in putting some of it together. And he kind of promised some people, he got some people to invest in it and stuff.
okay.
And so when that guy, so he recommended this guy as a replacement. And this guy, he said, I don't know what he had done, but apparently Kurt Russell said it was very obvious that he was not up to the task
Well, you know
pretty
what,
early
Scott? That's
on.
what I get for jumping in and trying to tell you the way things are when you heard it right from Kurt Russell. No, you're right. There probably was somebody that got knocked out for whatever reason.
Yes, there was.
And nobody, yeah. But then the next guy, he's the one with the health problems. He's the guy that's the
Oh,
father,
okay.
the father of the guy that did Mandy, which is quite a wacky movie. Yeah,
Wait,
Cosmopolitus or something like
Nicolas
that.
Cage? No.
No. He's the father of the guy that, the director of Mandy.
Directed.
Yeah, I'll tell you his name.
Oh, okay.
Mandy movie,
Oh,
2018.
Cosmopolitan, or whatever you say it.
Cosmatos. Panos Cosmatos. But
Yeah,
his
with Robert.
dad is named something else. I'll find out.
Anyway,
Go ahead.
so Kurt Russell basically directed it because it came obvious, I guess, for health reasons. Now I don't think he said that guy wasn't up to the task, and so Kurt Russell was like, when you put he said, I believe I try and be a man of my word, and when you recommend somebody and you have people and they got their money on the line at your say so, then you do whatever you can to get that project across the finish line. And he directed it, and apparently he swore to the director that he wouldn't tell anyone while the director was still alive. And so people suspected it, but he would talk about it until after the guy was dead.
Yeah, he's been dead. He's been dead a while. See when he died. George P. Cosmatos.
Yeah, but Kurt Russell talked about how the original. He said that script, that original script for Tombstone. He said I will guarantee you it's the best script ever. It's like best script ever in Hollywood. And he said we had to go in and cut. We were coming in at, I forget what he said, but they had to cut out like a bunch of like a third of the movie. It was too long.
Yeah.
And it's long anyway. And he said,
too much good stuff.
You promise people too much what?
Too much good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Kurt Russell said, sometimes you're on a thing and you promise things are going to happen, and to make it happen, if you got to cut the script, sometimes your lines are the ones you got to cut. And he goes, he said, I cut 20 minutes of my own dialogue out of there just to get it to work, and he said the original script was far superior to what we had, but the original script could never have gotten made. He said it was just too long and too much. And, it was pretty good. That interview may be on the Cowboy Hall of Fame website. I don't know. I haven't looked.
I'll have to look. If I find it by a later search here after we get done, I'll make it into a link.
I don't have my. Yeah, do that. It was pretty good, and he was at 3 events, I think. One of which was there was a like a cocktail party the night before that was. And then he did the talk. It was free to the public. And then he did that night was the actual induction ceremony. And that also, I think the tickets to the cocktail thing, the mixer and the induction ceremony were like, I think it was $150 a couple. So I didn't go to either one of those. I would have liked to have. I mean,
not too
they were
bad.
Like black tie kind of things.
Yeah.
No, I mean, really, in terms of like spending your money for stuff,
yeah.
I mean, people spend more money on dumber things, in my opinion. But
oh, sure.
I mean, I have, So,
No,
yeah, but
that's a memory. Getting to hang out with the Kurt
oh, it's
Russell
cool.
fans.
I had a blast. Um, I had some stuff I would like to have got autographed, but it's the way that he came on, he went off this. So they did it kind of bad because the stage was this where they set him up was right there in the entryway. I thought he'd be in the ballroom, but it was right in the entryway. And there's that end of the trail statue with the very large Indian statue.
Right, right.
He was in front of that on a platform, but it was pushed back. Well, the seats went down the hall both directions and towards the doorway. So if you were on the side, he was kind of there was a wall kind of blocking part of your view potentially.
Mm-hmm.
So there were two seats, and so when we sat down, we went over to the right. We didn't know where he was going to sit. If he sat on the right side of the stage, we wouldn't have been able to see him. But he sat on the left side, so he was facing us.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. But when he left on that side. So there was no, if he'd walked by me, I may have been able to talk to him, but he didn't. He was on the other side of the crowd from us.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like, okay.
Yeah, too much effort, and don't want to alarm security by pushing other people out of the way to get to him.
Yeah, they kind of hustled him out of there pretty quick.
Yeah, you have to nowadays. There's just too many nuts out there. You can't behave like, well, I'm just around Okies. You can't trust that.
I think it was probably a lot less than it would have been at some other places, maybe. But yeah, still still they got him out of there pretty quick.
Hustled him out.
There wasn't really like any armed security around that I noticed. Now they had all their security guards.
Well, that means it was really, really good security. If you didn't notice them.
Well, that may be, and he may have had his own people there. You know,
sure.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure they had some kind. I mean, I could promise you, I just being in Oklahoma, probably every one of those security guards that were quote unarmed probably had a very least a pistol on their ankle.
Sure.
Why not, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah, in the Cowboy Hall of Fame.
I think it's legal to carry guns in there. I mean, I don't think I think they'll allow you if you have a concealed carry license.
Oh, I've said it before. There is no more secure feeling than being at a gun show around a bunch of solid citizens that are packing heat. There's no more secure feeling. Everybody's got a gun. Somebody does like that subway shooter. Kapow, kapow, kapow. He's just full of holes before he can take two steps.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like, if people know that if you're in an area that people know that you're not supposed to carry a gun, it's like, well,
hey, I'm the only guy with a gun.
Sheep.
Now we're about to have fun.
Exactly.
Hey, I wanted to share this story with you from John Wooley. I am on his newsletter, and I brought up just in closing with talking to him.
Hey, while you're talking, I'm gonna run downstairs and get some coffee. I can still hear you, but I can't see anything.
Okay, that's all right. That sounds good. I'll go ahead and do that. I got this letter from John Wooley. Wooley is a really interesting writer. He's written a lot of cool stuff, but he's a guy that dates back for me back to what would have been 1980 or something like that. And he and his friend Ron Wolf wrote a book called Old Fears, which has been optioned about 5 times or something like that. And anyway, I bought that based on his newsletter, and I also mentioned that I had just been surfing for Mazeppa because I was absolutely sure, him being a Tulsa-based guy, he'd know about Mazeppa. And sure enough, he writes me back. And he writes, for one thing, he says, thanks for the old Fears order. I'll have that in the mail tomorrow. And he says, my Mazeppa connection goes back a long way. My band, the Beef Squad, was the first ever band on the show. I was going to OSU at the time, and we did 3 or 4 appearances, maybe more. We were on the Christmas program with Leon Russell, another Tulsa boy.
Oh my gosh.
Unfortunately, all of them were on Channel 6, and they erased and reused the tapes. And Channel 8, apparently they changed channels, and he's all the footage you see of Mazeppa these days from DVDs is from the Channel 8. Yeah, and Wooley says by the time Mazeppa moved to Channel 8, I was on my way to Vietnam on the USS New Orleans. And Gaylord Sartain, who was Mazeppa, was also the guy who became the what do you call that? The fry cook on Hee Haw. Which is, if you're familiar with Hee Haw, you know he almost always had a couple of gags. He was a running gag throughout it. Somebody come in, somebody like Junior Samples would be at the counter chewing the fat with what used to be Mazeppa. And I think he's also the guy in The Jerk who comes in and sets up the film projector so he can get some money out of Steve Martin's character by showing him the awful horrors of cat juggling. If you remember if you remember that movie, he's the little tubby guy that comes in and sets up the projector.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was fascinating. He says he almost had a chance to have a few beers with Leon Russell, and Leon Russell wanted him to come along. Knew it. He liked the Beef Squad, seen him, and we'd been on the show with him. But he was having finals in OSU in Stillwater, and he was cramming for them. So he stayed in that groove. So he didn't go party with Leon Russell. So much for that. Much for that memory.
It's probably okay.
Yeah, it's probably okay. He survived it. No, Wooley is a cool character. I'll put a link down to Wooley's Forgotten Horrors podcast. Those are always really good.
I like his podcast. His podcast is really good.
Yeah, he and the other fellow that he works with there are great at talking about the old movies.
Yeah, and usually it's stuff that you can see pretty easily.
Yeah, you can go on YouTube and get your own.
It's on YouTube a lot of times.
Yeah, they tend to specialize in stuff. Talk about us being pre-1973. They're fairly often pre-1950, in terms of stuff they get into.
Yeah, but it's good stuff.
Oh, yeah. Let me see. I know I've got some of these already copied onto the hard drive that I haven't listened to yet. Here we go. The Forgotten Horrors podcast. From Podbean. I mean, there might be better places to listen to it, but I listen to it on Podbean. Horror film expert and author. Oh, well, no. I was reading the lead in on something else. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Authors John Wooley and Michael H. Price. And they've collaborated on books of the same name, Forgotten Horrors.
Oh, yeah. You don't have any of those, do you?
I do. I have a signed one from Wooley. Yeah. When I went to that oldest con in the country. What's it called?
OFCon.
That's right. Hey, you talk now. I'm going to go get the last of my coffee.
Go get some coffee, Ellis. If you're out there and you're listening to this and you want to see me talk for an hour and 20 minutes, check out Taskforce Geek. Task and Force is one word. And they ask me a bunch of questions. I talk about my comic Heaven's Rejects. Talk about how I got involved in Heaven Rejects. And I talk about some of the stuff that some of my comic projects that did not pan out. I've had more misses than hits so far, but that's okay.
What did you decide to talk about?
I talked about well, you got to stay here if you want to know what it's
Yeah,
about.
that's right.
I talked about being on Taskforce Geek and what I talked about on Taskforce Geek.
I got to check that out. Wow. I'll put the link.
Yeah, you'll have to check it out. I'd sent them a bio, and they had checked out my website, so they talked about some stuff also, including they talked about Jack Spade, which was the superhero comic in New Orleans that I was hired to draw at one point.
Oh yeah.
And
you did a lot of work on that, and it was good work in terms of servicing a pretty cool story,
Yep, I liked it, and the company went out of business before anything happened.
But you've got all the art.
Yeah. Now, are you thinking of the Big Easy Score, which is the crime comic I did?
That's what I'm thinking of. That's what I'm thinking of. I'm sorry.
But Jack Spade was also, but it's a superhero story.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike Kennedy inked it.
Oh, cool.
It was, it was fun. I mean, if that had taken off, Ellis, I'd probably still be drawing it. I mean,
yep.
I made $20 a page, but who cares? I mean, like I told them, I like drawing comics. If I could find a project to keep me busy for a while, I'd just jump in with both feet.
Well, that's the deal. You would adapt to whatever it took to churn out the art according to the demands of the project. You would do it. You would figure out what your deadlines were, and you'd get them done.
Well, and that's one of the things they talked about is like, they're like, I can't believe you've done all this work. And, I mean, I've done 4 issues of this comic with no guarantee of a payoff, and they were like that. A lot of people won't do. He said, you see people online complaining about, oh, I got to do 4 pages to get this as a sample or whatever. And he's like, you did all this with no, and I said, yeah, well, I talked, I mean, it was, in fact, that's what they refer to as spec. But, I knew the publisher well, and I told him, I said, it's worse than that. I said, I've paid for half the coloring. So I got a couple $1,000 in it and with no promise of a return. But I believe in the project that much. And that's the thing, the writer had a track record, and the publisher had a track record, and I was like, okay, I think I trust these guys. I still think it'll work out pretty good for me, but and then they asked me, what are you working on now? And I'm like, nothing, man. I guess I could have said I'm working on this Daredevil thing that they've already told me we don't really know what we're going to do with it, but this project that I'm drawing now is falling apart. But they were like, well, we don't know what we're going to do with it. I said, well, send me a script and I'll work on it. But the other day they emailed me like, hey, have you worked on any of that? I'm like, yep, I got 2 pages done.
Trying to wave you off of it or something?
No, I don't think so. I think that I don't know what they just hadn't heard from me. I think that's what I think. They just hadn't heard from me, and they're just trying to figure out, is he really doing something?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's drawing stuff. I mean, I'll finish up this page tonight, but it's set on my desk forever just because, I need. I'll work on anything.
Yeah.
You're right. It's not there's no guarantee that this is going to be published. Which, there's no guarantee of anything, but there's no even plan for this to get published, is my understanding. I'm just working on it just because. It's kind of like that thing I'm drawing on my own, that 1979 or whatever I'm going to call it. Which now I look at and I'm like, I need to redraw about half of this. Maybe I'll fix it in the inks. Sorry, I'm in trouble with my desk. I've been reading that, last time we talked, I pulled out that Glenn Villapoo book.
Mm-hmm.
Been reading that some. That's pretty good. I'm going on vacation in a few weeks. I may take that with me. We're going down to Florida.
You know how YouTube, its algorithm, once you start watching something, it'll start presenting you with more of the same that you.
Yes.
And I've been seeing lots of really cool, and subscribing to them when they get me right. I'll go ahead and subscribe to the people they thrust on me, and I've had some cool stuff show up and on art instruction on oil painting. Really digging it. And there's a woman named Sue Lyon who, in the back of my head, I think, yeah, you've heard of her. I'm sure of it because I was around this semi-cult while I was at the school that Fred Fixler started, that was the main guy that passed on the Riley method to all these guys like Jeff Watts.
Yeah,
Watts down there in San Diego. And, he was a student, and I could probably go through a dozen names that came through that same place I was lucky enough to go to. And but they had this channel. It was so funny. It's like, hey, wow, cool. I know about all these people. It seems like they were just talking about some sort of special event that was going to be coming up for Richard Schmid, and it was all those people I used to sit in there and share time with the model, do a little painting, do a little drawing. So that was cool.
Ellis,
it's like small world. It's 8 o'clock, isn't it?
It's 8 o'clock. Yeah, I want to show you my pages.
Oh, wow. Look at
page
that.
1.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sweet. Oh, yeah.
Page 2.
This is a good sample. Yeah.
Oh,
or not a sample. Hell, this is right.
Oh yeah, I could. I mean, I could publish this. It's. Well, I didn't write it, so I really couldn't legally publish it. I mean, but.
No, you can show it off.
It's going on my webpage, that's for sure.
Yeah. I didn't do anything, and this didn't inspire me with cool drawings. It stultified me. I just started drawing along the grid. Had no composition.
Oh, the isometric paper.
Yeah, I had no compositional sense or anything.
I've seen those great. I told you those Dungeons and Dragons deal where they draw them, and I thought, man, I want to draw one of those.
Yeah.
And so I printed one out. Rather than buy a whole pad, I printed one out and I drew on it for a little bit, and I was like,
yeah,
no, my brain doesn't think this way.
Yeah. I was amazed how creative this young girl was with her stuff. She was doing really fun, kind of surreal, cartoony stuff. It was really neat. I would have to just totally be completely loosey-goosey with my initial sketch. Then maybe I could move to this and do some kind of fun stuff. I'd have to think I'd have to think composition first. I'd have to decide what was important and all that.
You should start with drawing stuff on it, like robots and cars and just use it for stuff like that and get comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. That's what I'd do. Did I show you my robot? Did I show you my robot I drew in my sketchbook?
No, let's see it. I may have seen it on Instagram since
no. I put it on
share that
Instagram.
Space. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I've been trying to,
looks like a Harryhausen robot. A Harryhausen character.
Oh yeah, kind of. Okay, yeah, kind of does. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. I need to go.
Okay. It is time to go.
Hey,
go ahead.
Okay, cancel the thing and then we'll talk after you turn off the broadcast.
Okay, we are leaving, folks. Goodbye. Thank you for not showing up.